Yeah.
Just gonna say.
meeting to order. All rise, salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the This meeting is in compliance with the Open Public Meeting Law and has been duly advertised in the newspaper as an official meeting. Roll call.
Ms. Gardella. Mr. McCarron.
Present.
Ms. Barocas.
Present.
Dr. Osmond. Mrs. Rivera. Mrs. Cass.
Present.
Mr. Palmieri.
Present. Before I motion for approval of the agenda, I'd like to update Finance number 11 with the amount of $12.5 million for this property. I will go more into what this motion means when we go to standing committee reports for Budget and Finance. I need a motion for approval of the agenda with addendum.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mrs. Gardella.
Yes.
Mr. McCarron.
Yes.
Mrs. Barocas.
Yes.
Dr. Osmond.
Yes.
Mrs. Rivera. Mrs. Cass.
Yes.
Mr. Palmieri.
Yes. I now turn the meeting over to Ms. Permilli for her superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. Palmieri, and good evening, everyone. Welcome to the board meeting, and I cannot believe that it is already November, and we are talking about Thanksgiving coming up soon. It's incredibly how quick the school year does go. And many reasons why it goes quickly is because of all of the wonderful activities and happenings that happen in our school district on a daily basis. And I consider myself very fortunate to be able to get out to see some of these things. But tonight, we'll begin like we always do, hearing about all the happenings at the high school level. We look forward to these reports every board meeting night. So from Liberty tonight, I will call Katie to the podium first to talk about everything happening at Liberty High School.
Good evening, Superintendent Permelli, Board of Education members and guests. Thank you for extending me this opportunity to speak on behalf of Jackson Liberty. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Katie Yergel, a senior at Jackson Liberty, and I'm honored to share a little bit about what the students and staff have been up to this past month. October seemed to fly by because of all the popular events that took place. As mentioned at the last Board of Ed meeting, student council in the classes had been dedicating their efforts to a widely anticipated Battle of the Classes and homecoming since the start of school. I'm happy to report that both events were huge successes. It was a tight race, but the class of 2025 took home the win in Battle of the Classes, and there was a great turnout at homecoming. It was nice to see so many Liberty and Memorial students enjoying the night. We would like to give a huge thank you to our wonderful PTSN. The dance would not have been possible without your help. We're very lucky to have a hardworking and supportive group of parents. October was also filled with many Spirit Days and events for Week of Respect, Violence Awareness Week, and Red Ribbon Week. Another highlight of last month was our Fall Pep Rally. It was a fun-filled afternoon that allowed us to highlight many milestones accomplished by each team throughout the season, as well as many of them luck in their completed postseason plays. Although fall sports have since ended, it was a month of recognition for many of our athletes. Senior Delaney Spaltoff has signed her national letter of intent to run Division I cross country as well as winter and spring track at Siena College. Michael Kisperth also announced his commitment to play baseball at Georgian Court University. Riley Thorne and Jules Georgiano were named Short Conference All-Division players for field hockey, while Delia Hassel received honorable mentions. Additionally, Grace Chiafulu was named All-Division player for volleyball. In football, Mason Ciccarello, Justin Uteg, Donovan Louis-Jacques, and Aiden Kelly were named First-Team All-Division for offense. Corzique Palms, Derek Matthews, and Tucker Brzezinko were named First-Team All-Division for defense. Corley Thomas, James Dressler were named Second-Team All-Division for offense, and Brennan Koger, Justin Bray, Justin Salini, Jack Nishitowitz was named for defense. Other people who have stood out this month are Brianna Casais, Zayden Musto-Evans, for being our seniors of the month. Additionally, we would like to recognize Dory O'Halloran and Rocco Malangone for being our October Athletes of the Month. Mrs. Saves was recognized by the National Honor Society as their selected teacher to honor, while Ms. Dominguez was named Liberty's Lion of the Month. Speaking of Ms. Dominguez, as Environmental Club advisor, she organized an amazing experience for not only the organization, but our school, by planning a NASA Artemis moon tree on our grounds. NASA and the USDA Forest Service have partnered to send tree seeds in space on Artemis 1. This helps promote STEM education and connects Artemis I programming to educators in the youth nationwide. We are very excited for the newest addition to our already impressive campus. JLHS doesn't look good, just look good, it does good as well. With the upcoming holiday season, many Liberty programs are looking to give back. Our Jackson Liberty Band Parents Association organized a very successful clothing drive this past Saturday. If you missed it, don't worry, the boys wrestling team is also hosting one from now until the end of December. They're accepting all donations of clothes and shoes. Within the school, our National Honor Society is doing whatever they can to help make the school experience all that it can be. They inducted the largest group in school history at the end of October with 39 new members. They wasted no time getting to work right away. They shared a cultural day with our MLL students that honored and celebrated traditions around the world, helping students gain their voices by sharing their perspectives. Additionally, National Honor Society is selling cookie grams to help make people's days as sweet as possible. The World Language Honor Society is using the same concept, selling talkie grams, helping to brighten a friend's day. As wonderful as those all are, nothing has shined brighter than JTV's 7th annual Home for the Holidays. It was a huge hit, showcasing many amazing performances from our students. It specifically highlighted senior Ryan Idle, who did an amazing job hosting and performing throughout the night. They're not the only ones taking the stage. Our performing arts program is in full swing. The ad-lib players, accompanied by the Liberty Choir, are spending countless hours projecting their upcoming show, You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown. We look forward to packing the audience for performances at 7 p.m. on December 5th, 6th, and 7th. You don't want to miss it. Finally, with all brave military service members in the community, our school went out of their way to honor them on Veterans Day. The Interact Club was honored to have veteran Mr. Luke Stango as their guest speaker to offer insight into his experience during the Vietnam War. Additionally, our school concert choir visited the local retirement community of Westlake on Veterans Day to reinforce that they are never forgotten. We are so fortunate to live among so many heroes, and it was a pleasure to honor them. As you can see, Liberty is in full swing of and taking full advantage of the opportunities their clubs, teams, and classes have to offer. The weather might be cooling down, but things are just heating up around here. I appreciate you for providing me with this platform, and I can't wait to report back for next month. Thank you.
Thank you, Katie. That was a great report full of just incredible happenings at Liberty High School. So next to the podium, I'd like to call Colin from Memorial High School.
Good evening, Mrs. Permilli, members of the Central Administration staff, and Board of Education members. My name is Colin Williams, and I am the Student Council President at Jackson Memorial High School. It's an honor to share here tonight the incredible events, achievements, and upcoming activities happening at JMHS as we celebrate the talents and dedication of our students and staff. First, I am thrilled to announce that Jackson Memorial High School's Drama Club will present our fall play, Mean Girls Jr. Performances will occur on Thursday, November 21st, and Friday, November 22nd at 6:30 p.m., with a special showing on Saturday, November 23rd at 2 p.m. The cast and crew have worked tirelessly to bring this hilarious and heartfelt production to life. We invite everyone to come out and support our talented students as they showcase their creativity and passion for theater. Yesterday, our Powder Puff football game was an enormous success. The event brought students together for an evening of fun and friendly competition. The junior and senior girls gave it their all on their field with a score of 28-7 seniors, while the boys took on the roles of coaches and cheerleaders, adding to the excitement. The energy was electric, and the event showcased our incredible school spirit at JMHS. Proceeds from the event will be added to our classes' individual funds to help them with prom and junior formal. On October 19th, we celebrated homecoming with an unforgettable night of school spirit and community pride. The evening kicked off by the much-anticipated homecoming football game on October 18th, which was a win for the Jags. Congratulations to our team on their strong performance and to our homecoming court, who represented JMHS with grace and enthusiasm. The homecoming dance, where students came together to celebrate, making memories that will last a lifetime. I would like to thank the PTSN for their tremendous support at the event. We loved all the food and the beautiful decorations. This year, I had the opportunity to attend the Liberty Homecoming Dance. It was a great atmosphere, and I'm sure all the students had a great time. I sure did. The annual Battle of the Classes also had an amazing turnout this year. Each grade participated in games and spirited competitions that filled the gym with enthusiasm and laughter. Congratulations to the seniors who took home the winning score, but a big thank you goes out to all the students for their involvement and sportsmanship. Events like these truly highlight the competitive but friendly nature of students at JMHS. On an academic note, the National Honor Society held its annual inauguration last week, welcoming a new class of outstanding scholars, leaders, and volunteers. The ceremony celebrated their hard work and dedication to academics, character, leadership, and service. We are proud of these students and look forward to seeing the positive impact they will make on both our school and our community. PSAT scores were recently released, and it's been great to see so many of my peers taking the time to review the results and plan their next steps. As students, these scores give us a clearer picture of where we're excelling and where we can improve as we prepare for the SAT and beyond. It's encouraging to hear from classmates who are using this as an opportunity to set academic goals and work towards them. Additionally, the Interact Club has seen tremendous participation this year. Students have been actively engaging in service projects and community outreach, from organizing food drives to volunteer at local events. The club makes a meaningful difference and inspires others to get involved. As the fall sports season officially ends, I want to take a moment to congratulate all of our teams for their hard work and dedication. The girls' soccer team had an incredible run, winning the Central Jersey Group D Central Championship before a hard-fought loss to Shawnee in the semifinals of the state tournament. Their determination and teamwork were inspiring to all of us. Every fall sports team represented JMHS with pride, and we are grateful to the memories they created this season. We wish our athletes the best of luck as they prepare for the next year. Looking ahead, we're excited to the start of winter sports. Wrestling, basketball, bowling, ice hockey, swimming, and winter track are gearing up for what promises to be an exciting season. Tryouts and practices are soon to be underway, and students are ready to give their best efforts on and off the field, court, ring, or pool. We look forward to cheering them on in the coming months. Thank you, Mrs. Permilli and the Board of Education, for your continued support and for allowing me to highlight the amazing accomplishments and exciting plans at Jackson Memorial High School. We look forward to seeing you at our fall play, Mean Girls Junior, and at the many events that make JMHS such a special place. I'll be back next month with more updates and stories to share. Thank you.
Thank you, Colin, for a very extensive report, again, highlighting the many things and opportunities, events, activities, academic recognitions of our students. I just want to pause for a minute and thank and let the students know just how proud we are of them. You know, I had the opportunity to attend both National Honor Society induction ceremonies. Amazing what our students do, and I am so proud of them, and I know that they'll continue to do wonderful things. And I want to say how proud I am of our staff who helped them to get there, and thank our parents who also helped them to get there. Just incredible opportunities for our kids. I also want to take a minute to thank our PTNs, PTS, our parent organizations who have supported so much of what you heard from both high schools. Homecoming, all sorts of the Battle of the Classes events. Without our parents, we couldn't do those things. So I want to thank you all for your support of our students. And I also want to thank our Jackson Ed Foundation, who has also on the agenda tonight put out some grants for our teachers, and some of our teachers will be receiving some money to help them with some additional things that they would like to do in their classrooms. So wonderful support system here of our parents, our parent organizations, the Jackson Education Foundation, and our staff. So thank you to all of you for making these wonderful opportunities for our students. So in November, we also held parent conferences for the elementary and middle school level, and those concluded, and we had a terrific turnout, and parents got to hear about the progress of their students. I want to thank again our teachers for holding those conferences and helping our parents to better understand where their students are falling academically and socially, emotionally. We have quite a few other things that I'd like to point out. You'll see some of the slides behind me. The board may want to turn around and see some of them. Just some of the other highlights that have been happening across the district. Again, wonderful opportunities and events for our students. This year we have this opportunity of working with the Big Brothers and Big Sister program to allow some high school students who had to apply, there was an application process for this, to work with the Monmouth Medical Center, the southern campus, where they're getting to go, and we had our first visit. this past month where they were able to go and meet with mentors within that hospital and learn about different job opportunities in the hospital, and they got to shadow them for the day, an incredible experience. And that will continue throughout the year. They'll have that opportunity. In November, we celebrate Veterans Day, and we had many opportunities across the district for our students to learn more about the importance of that holiday, one of which was at Getz. You'll see there behind me a really meaningful activity that teachers Victoria Consta and Vicki Hayes were in charge of, and really honoring the opportunity for our students to participate and replicate a plaque that actually, or I should say a sign, that actually from 1943 was in place for Veterans Day here in Jackson, and they had the opportunity to update it as well, the students, and did a replica of that. You can see a picture of the replica behind me. Really an opportunity for those students to learn the importance of what our veterans do to help support us here in the United States. Also at Getz, during the Veterans Day ceremony, we had the opportunity to see some vets, and also the police department took place in participating in that as well. So a really nice honoring of our vets and for our students to understand the meaning of that day. Also at McAuliffe, you may know that they do an annual run for vets, but it's so much more than just a run. There's so many more conversations and lessons and projects that the students do all week long during the week of, during that week that Veterans Day is celebrated. You'll see there many of the veterans that showed for that run for vets and the breakfast that they hold, and the opportunity that students have to get to hear from those vets as well. So some wonderful, great opportunities. Those are just two. They were happening in all of our schools to be able to recognize the importance with our students of that special day. You heard from both of our high school reps about the plays that are happening this month. Please get your tickets and come out and see them. They are always fantastic. I'm looking forward to seeing both. Our bands also have, just so proud of them and everything that they do and they accomplish, and again, with the support of the parent group behind that and our teachers. The Jackson Liberty and Jackson Memorial Bands represented the district super well here at the Robbinsville High School band competition, took two top spots overall for both of our high schools, and we just love seeing them work together and being at the same competition together. It was wonderful for the district. And also our high school reps mentioned our very talented athletes who have committed to colleges and have had a signing day this past week. You'll see some of those names that were mentioned in the high school reps report. Congratulations to all of them. That's a huge commitment to your, it's tough to be a top athlete and an academic scholar at the same time. So congratulations to all of them. We're really proud of them, and we look forward to following them and seeing how they progress in their college experience. And finally, I also wanted to just mention that many of these things are posted on our Facebook page report, so please follow us there, and you'll see some of the other wonderful things that we post in regards to the great opportunities our students have within the district. I'm going to conclude my report this evening with an update on our strategic redistricting and restructuring planning committee work. In each meeting, November and December, before we get to the recommendation to the board, I'll be reporting out the progress of the meetings, the committee work. So I'm going to go to the podium for this, and there are some slides to view for the board.
Just don't spill any water on it.
So can you hear me okay? Maybe I need to. Okay, can you hear me? Yes, okay, good. So as you all are aware, and I would hope our community is aware at this point, we have entered into strategic redistricting and restructuring planning. We're calling that the SRRP committee for in order to be short and not have to continually restate those three words over and over again. So tonight, I'll be sharing information about the progress of that committee. The committee is made up of 42 people, that is inclusive of parents, teachers, administrators, and board members. We have had 3 meetings so far since the onset of the committee. So beginning tonight, I wanted to point out that when we first began planning for strategic planning and doing our research in the district, we knew we needed to move forward and we needed to make some changes here for several reasons that we'll talk about tonight. But through my research, I came across this slide from the school boards, New Jersey school boards. This slide is used in New Jersey school boards to determine if a school district should be entering into strategic planning. They ask these questions, and if these questions, the answers, thank you. The answers to these questions are yes, you should be looking to do strategic planning. So I found that this slide was very validating, that we were moving in the right direction and knowing that we needed to do some strategic planning here in Jackson. As you can see, is the school enrollment changing? Yes, it is. Is the makeup of your school population changing? Yes. Are there more people in your community who don't have children in school? Yes. And would you benefit from a roadmap for the district's future? So yes, we could say yes to all of those. So again, this was validating that we were entering into strategic planning, as we should, because of these things that are changing in the district. So why strategic planning for Jackson? I had presented earlier in the year about some of our goals and knowing that we needed to take upon strategic planning as a major goal in the district. We have really smart people here, creative and talented people, and for the last 7 years, we have worked hard to problem solve and be able to continue to keep strong programs, academic opportunities, co-curriculars for our students, but we have really now hit that fiscal cliff where it's going to be extremely difficult to not affect our students, and we have seen that in this fiscal budget year. So obviously, number one reason is financial challenges we need with reduced state aid coming to us from the last 7 years and the rate of inflation that we've been dealing with. So we also know that the challenges to keep these strong programs due to financial reasons is difficult, and we are committed to keeping strong programs here. We have changes in our student population for several reasons. Some of those things are academic, some of those are mental health, and some of those have to do with different groups of people who have different needs within our district. We have aging facilities. As you can imagine, we've postponed many big projects due to our budget restraints and the reduction of state aid coming that came at us at the last 7 years. So our facilities have some needs as well. We had, as we well know from this year and this fall, outdated trailers and trailers that needed to be disposed of, and we needed to get students back into classrooms within our buildings. So that was a big challenge that we knew we needed to face. Our class sizes needed to be more equitable across our district, and we have seen a decrease in enrollment in the last several years. So these reasons stood out for us that we definitely needed to enter in just to strategic planning and making some change in the district. So pulling this committee together, we started our first meeting looking at this goal and setting this goal for the committee. As you can see, we set the goal to assist the administration in making recommendations to the Board of Education, how to best provide a strong, equitable, and sustainable opportunities for our students within the limitation of our financial challenges so that we could be sustainable financially. We wanted to establish clear priorities to move the district forward and expect to make key decisions on how to address class size inequalities among our grade levels and across our schools, ensure all students have access to the same academic and extracurricular opportunities as other classmates and peers, and obviously rectify serious facility needs that impact student learning. So we all agreed that this was our goal for our strategic planning committee, and from the onset, we were committed to this goal. In fact, this goal sits on our tables each meeting as a reminder, and we revisit it often as we work through strategic planning. The purpose of the committee we went over as well, and the role of the committee in our first meeting, our role to review data and other information that's presented, identify priorities, provide perspective, input, and insight, and to act as a think tank to address the challenges and to help the administration make that recommendation to the board to address the challenges faced by the district. Everybody was in agreement that this was our goal, our role, and our purpose. So as I mentioned, we had 3 meetings thus far, and you can see the agenda that was set for these 3 meetings here. We have reviewed a lot of data. We've looked at enrollment. We have looked at the report from the architects of our facility assessment. We looked at the survey results of the survey we sent out to our staff and our parents. We looked at trends of the survey, and we've just started to enter into looking at grade span models and analyzing those models. So you can see there, we'll begin to, from this point forward, begin to look at those models a little further. But these were the 3 meetings. And I just want to pause here and make it very clear there have been no decisions. This is all still in the review process of looking at data and information. And in that progress of analyzing information that was presented, one of those things that I just mentioned was the analysis from our architect. As I mentioned just a few moments ago, we have some facility needs. And so with that, the architect came in and shared information with the committee about the analysis of our buildings that we did this past spring. We do have some debt that is rolling off on June 30th in 2027. It does seem like that's still far away, but we still need to keep that in mind as we work through this process, because through a possible referendum, we could help to address some of the big facility needs that we may have in regards to updating our facilities. So this was all shared with that committee, the condition of our facilities. And what's important for the Strategic Planning Committee is not to make any decisions about a referendum, but to make decisions about what's important in our facilities to make sure that we have strong facilities for our students. So there is some overlap here in talking about our facilities and a possible referendum in the committee work that we are doing. These were some of the things to consider when we talked about our facilities, again, aging facilities, projects that have been postponed. For example, our bathroom conditions. I would think that many of our students would say the same thing. We need to update the bathrooms. There's a lot of needs that have stand out that we really need to address. Some buildings have some serious needs that may not even be able to be addressed due to our financial restraints. So again, that's why you might look at a referendum to do those things. Aside from safety issues addressed in our facility, there has been no priority list yet towards what are the things that we need to make sure we address. But we are working through the process in strategic planning, and some things may come out organically that we should consider for a referendum. So they sort of have to work a little bit in conjunction, but again, we're making no decisions about a referendum right now. It's how does it align with our facility needs, and how could we perhaps update our facilities? And there you see just a bullet or two about the financial obligation. So with a referendum, just so that everybody understands that there is, when the debt rolls off the books, there is no financial increase to our taxpayer for that. In fact, in some cases, you can actually give a little bit of tax relief if you choose to. So the next thing that I mentioned was the survey results that we did go over with the committee. I want to take a few minutes here just to inform the public of some of those survey results. It was real important for us to put a survey out to gather perspective. We knew that this survey was about people's perspectives, what their thoughts were, what our staff's thoughts were, what our parents' thoughts were, and what their perspectives were on how the questions that we asked, what was their feedback from their perspective. We didn't expect to have complete factual data, but we expected to understand where people thought things were in need to be addressed within the district. So we did have a really strong response rate. I was happy to see 981 responses. And the survey results are just one piece of information that we consider as we move forward with strategic planning, but is of course an important piece. So I'll just take you through a couple of those slides tonight. So the condition of our district facilities, good and excellent, came out pretty strong here for most people, with about 20% fair, considering fair conditions in our facility. But again, looking at that, we're happy to see that. But again, that's going to be from each individual's perspective, of what they know about their own facilities, whether they work in that facility or their children attend that facility. But again, I do think that this is still important information to see that most of the people who responded feel that our facilities are pretty strong. We did break that down a little bit and ask for people to rate excellent, good, and fair for some specific areas in our facilities. And you'll see here, again, most of the things came out excellent and good and fair. You know, when you look at poor, it's pretty small. That green bar is pretty small for most of those things. I mean, you can see in the grounds, maybe we need to be looking a little further at what our grounds look like investing some attention there. And when you look at this next slide, you can see that orange fair and that green poor popping up a little bit more in some of these areas around athletic fields, restrooms, and furniture. So that was important trends for us to note, again, as we move forward with strategic planning and how we address our facilities eventually down the road as well. You can see here on the next slide that again, pretty decent results. The green is pretty low. Maybe cafeteria we need to look at a little bit further in some of our cafeteria areas. But again, from a big picture view, these are some areas that we need to make sure that we're taking into consideration as we move forward. As far as safety goes and security, I was happy to see that a large population agree that and feel comfortable with our security approaches and feel safe. But I do want to note here too, that's excellent and we're happy to hear that, but we never stop working on that. We can never do enough. So we continue to always try to make improvements in that area, but I'm happy to hear that, that these results were pretty strong. Looking at this next slide, the class size question on whether at each level families or staff felt that the class size was appropriate or too large or too small. You can see here that at the secondary level, the middle and the high school, majority of the folks who responded to the survey felt that the class sizes were appropriate. And then at the elementary, just a little bit more than half felt that they were too large. So it's nice to hear and see people's perspectives on this. Ideally, obviously, we'd always love to have low class sizes. But it is helpful information for us as we move forward. This was a question in which we asked you to, the people who responded, to prioritize how we should be looking to spend funds in the district in relationship to our facilities and other things. So you'll see here that the top three we listed on these slides, the blue is number 1, the red is number 2, and orange is number 3. So obviously you can see equitable class size is number 1 here. That the majority of the folks who responded would like to see us addressing the equitable class size through the strategic planning. We don't disagree, absolutely. And then you look next at the next ones that are, school buildings, addressing the school buildings, addressing our classrooms, our restrooms, our media centers again. So again, this information is helpful for the strategic planning committee as we move forward when we get to a place of making decisions. The next slide was very validating because we asked people, what is the most important outcome you would like to see out of strategic planning? And this was a check all that apply question, so you could have checked everything that you would want there. And you can see the 3 major areas that pressed out as the top 3. Equitable class size throughout the district, maintaining programs and academic offerings, and creating a district that is financially stable. And I'll even go to number 4, which we didn't read off, but maintaining and expanding extracurriculars. And all 4 of those things definitely align with what the goals were for strategic planning. So it really did validate the importance of the work we were doing and what we wanted to address through strategic planning. This question, I think, it's a good question, but we maybe needed to work a little bit on the wording of it. And again, people are responding based on what they know about their own schools. So this was really, again, what's equitable in the middle schools and what's equitable in the high schools. And pretty much you have that standard bell-shaped curve. Most people agree that things are equitable, but again, you're only understanding what you know within your own buildings. I will just pause here for a minute because sometimes I hear from people who will say there's not equitable programs across the 2 high schools or the 2 middle schools. And I just want to be clear that always do we put out equitable programs. It's about who signs up who registers for those things, that whether we can run them or not. You know, we're in a financial situation that we can no longer run classes with 5 students. We can no longer run sports with a small amount of students. So that's where you end up getting an imbalance and an inequitable opportunity, that it appears to look like an inequitable opportunity. So I just wanted to comment about that. Okay, so moving on. We also allowed for open-ended questions. A question about what are your biggest concerns about entering into strategic planning? And so you'll see this is very, a lot of information to look at, but what we did was we categorized all of the responses that we got, and we got many of them. And you can see here what pushed out as the top 3 biggest concerns was the bus ride distance, staying with friends, mental health and social concerns, and I would group those 2 together because as we read through all of the comments, many of the comments were about students being able to stay together for their social emotional needs and not separating grade level students out from one another. And that happens when you redraw lines in sending areas for schools, is when you end up separating grade level students from one another. So what that message is saying there is they want grade level students to stay together. They want students to stay together with their friends. And they overlapped, number 2 and 3, that red and that yellow, with those kinds of things. And then there was concerns for mental health in any transitions that might happen for students. So any change that might happen for students, that was a concern for the people who responded, that we make sure we support them well. And of course, obviously, we would absolutely do that. The 4th area that pushes out there is the class size. That's the green. Again, circling back to what I just said earlier with some of the results, equitable class size stood out again, and making sure that it was equitable across the district and the grade levels. So at the last meeting with strategic planning, we entered into some more information. In each meeting, we just kept talking and adding more variables and more information to look at and to review as we move forward. And so at this last meeting, Mr. Soto presented and talked about how the transportation department operates, just so that people could understand more about transportation and also understand some of the challenges that we have with transportation. So we have a fleet of 100 large 54 passenger buses, and we have 45 vans, which is actually down from just 5 years ago. We had more, and we'll talk about that in a minute. We spent some time, or Mr. Soto spent some time talking about, due to the size of the town, 100 square miles, we're the 3rd largest district and town in the state of New Jersey, so it's vast. And that does create challenges for transportation, especially the distance and where the schools are located as well becomes a challenge. So we went over some of that and also explained the importance of needing to do a tiered system in order to make it all work. And so he shared with the group what we currently have in a tiered system, because sometimes people just think, oh, this is just one tier, or this is all that exists at that tier. Just for example, the first tier for the high school is not just our high school students getting bused to school, but it's also all of our students who have to get bused to MATES, OCC for a Performance Art Academy, our VOTEC students that get bused in the morning to the AM programs. There's a lot of layers that happen there just for the morning, and then that also follows up in the afternoon. Tier 2, as you see, is the middle school, but also on there is Switlick, preschool annex, PM MATES. We have to get the kids home on that tier from those schools, and also our high school athletic runs have to happen at that 2nd tier. That's a lot of transportation happening. Tier 3 is the elementary schools, and as you know, 2 years ago, we put them all on the same time, so they're all running at that same time period in Tier 3. Also during the day, we have other transportation runs happening midday for VOTEC, students that are going midday to VOTEC, work study. We have special education students who go out for work study programs, and then we also have our after-school and grant-funded and subscription busing happening. So it's a big operation, and so it was important that the committee understand that, because we also have to work within the restraints, any decision we make, with transportation. So they do aim for routes no longer than 50 minutes. In many cases, we are well under that. But again, with a town that's 100 square miles, it's a bit of a challenge. And then he also explained that in addition to our own desire for efficient transportation, we are held to efficiency rates from the state of New Jersey, and it is tied to our funding. We're supposed to be utilizing 90% of our total number of seats available on daily runs, and we get rated and we get funded accordingly. So it's important that we are efficient and using our transportation to its fullest capacity. So also understanding transportation challenges, it was shared with the committee, as I can imagine everybody in this room understands, that you can make the best plan on a computer for a route, but the traffic has a big piece of that that does not get necessarily figured into a computer program. So, and as you know, the traffic has continued to get a little bit more congested here in town over the last few years. We've also added a preschool program, and we bus a large number of preschool students, and it's required by law to have preschool aides on those buses. So that's another challenge for us. And so back to my point about our buses and our fleet, for the last few years, we've had to limit our bus replacement. We're on a cycle for bus replacement. We've had to shrink the number of buses that we buy in each of the cycles due to the fact of not only our budget restraints here, but also the inflation and the cost of buses now. You can see there, it went from $105,000 to $165,000 a bus. So now we have limited the number of buses. We've decreased that cycle by several buses each cycle. So that's, again, a continued challenge. And then, as you well know, we've mentioned before, the size of the town. And the challenge of our preschool students being added to that, you can't have preschool students on the bus for long periods of time. So the committee got to hear more about transportation. We'll continue to talk about that as we work through the models and the analysis of grade span models. And that is where the committee has left off. They're reviewing multiple models of grade spans and taking into consideration the many things that they have been presented, and also taking into consideration the priorities that the committee is also looking at. And so it's a big undertaking. Could I have the next slide, please? They're looking at various different models. There's a lot of work to be done here. And again, want to reiterate what I said earlier, there have been no decisions made. We're still in the review and analysis process. We will be updating again at the public board meeting at the December meeting. We still have several other meetings that are yet to come, in which we will be making our way again through those models. Could I have the next slide, please? In which we will be looking at some of these priorities here as we go through each of those models to determine what would be the best recommendation. And I just want to point out here, these are just some of the things and the factors that will go into looking at all of those models and analyzing them. So I won't read them to you, but I'll let you take a look at them. But as you can imagine, a lot of the priorities I've already mentioned are part of that. So we have several other more meetings in November and December. We have 4 more meetings, and we'll update at the December board meeting. We'll come together one more time. The committee will come together one more time early January with the goal to present a recommendation to the Board of Education at the January 22nd board meeting. It's real important that we look to make that decision by January. We've set that timeline knowing the angst and the concern that everybody has about change that's going to be coming. Please know that this committee, I'm so impressed with them. It is really, everybody knows that change has to come, but is really being thoughtful, really looking deep, asking good questions, all in the best interest of our students and being able to sustain this district to go on for multiple decades being as strong as it is. And we were committed to that, and I know the committee is just working so hard, and I appreciate all their time. It's a lot of long hours after work, and I know that they'll continue to do great work. So more to come at the December meeting when I'll have an update on 4 more meetings. Are there any questions from the board?
Can't hear.
Her mic's is not working. I can hear you, so I can repeat the question. Okay.
Okay, this one's working. I just had a question. Do you feel that the district at any point is going to reach out to the township regarding some of the traffic concerns moving forward? I feel like that's like such a big deal, regardless of whatever is the determining factor that comes out of the committee and to the board in January. Like, I feel like that should probably get going. Do you think that will be in advance? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just thinking there's certain, like, I went to visit facilities in September and I couldn't make a left into one of the facilities for at least 10 minutes, you know? And I just feel like,
So we do stay in constant contact with the township about traffic issues. I know Mr. Baginski has been in communication along with Mr. Soto to the traffic safety officer about some of our concerns that we currently have, one in which you just mentioned, and they're working with us to make recommendations. So we stay in constant communication with them, but certainly as we move forward in the process, we'll keep them informed of our concerns for certain areas. Thank you. Sure. Yes.
Would you be able, is mine working? Yeah, okay, sorry. I know a couple of people have asked me, maybe you could just let everyone know, how did you pick the people who are on this committee?
So we put out several opportunities for our administrators to let us know if they were interested. And then we picked people by level for the administrative team, and then we asked for suggestions of multiple people who might want to participate, had the availability and time. We asked them to share with parents in their school of the availability, do they have the availability to participate, and they were selected that way, and the same with our staff. Are there any other questions?
just for people who are wondering, like, I guess I'm piggybacking on Erica's question. As we go into our December board meeting, you share more about what the committee is discussing. Will people have the opportunity to hear it, digest it, and also be able to comment at our forum here?
Yes, up on the screen there, I have that information. We always have public comment. That's the purpose of us reporting out, giving the public the opportunity to review, hear, and come forward with questions. This meeting, at the December meeting, and I have said before in the past, we appreciate hearing from anybody. If there's something that somebody has for information purposes sharing, they certainly can reach out. They can send an email. They can give my office a call. We'd love to have everybody who's interested in the committee, but when you make a committee larger than what we've got, it really can't move quick enough in the direction that not in the direction, but they need to move by January. And so it's hard when you have very, very large groups to do that. The survey was a way of providing input, but we certainly will take any other input that any community member has and take it into consideration. Absolutely. Thank you, everyone. I'm going to go back to my seat to finalize. Maybe. Can you hear me? Yep. So the very last thing I just want to say is I wish everybody a very happy and safe Thanksgiving and appreciate everybody's interest, concern, and input on some very difficult decisions we have to make, but I know will be good decisions for our students. Thank you. I turn it back to you, Mr. Palmieri.
Thank you, Ms. Permilli. At this time, we will have our standing committees report. Buildings and Grounds, Chairperson, Mr. McCarron.
Yes, we met on November 4th. Persons in attendance were Ms. Rivera, Mrs. Cass, myself, Superintendent Permilli, Assistant Superintendent Rotante, and Mr. Bruno. We heard from DCO Energy regarding potential solar carport ideas and future energy-related grant opportunities. We received an update on district-wide projects. Some of those projects gets installed a new electromagnetic flow meter for the lift station. McAuliffe repaired a major leak in the guest restroom of the main office. Memorial Fieldhouse installed a handicap railing. Memorial D-Wing installed 2 new compressors in the carrier HVAC unit. Memorial power washed the baseball dugouts, home and away bleachers. Crawford Rodriguez installed 3 new light fixtures in the cafeteria. Johnson upgraded the burglary system. Elementary school playground projects are completed. Holman Elementary School gym HVAC project tentatively start date for November 26th. We also got an update on the status of master planning with the architects, and our next meeting is scheduled for December 2nd at 5 p.m.
Thank you, Mr. McCarron. Next is Budget and Finance, which I am the chairperson. We met on November 18th. It was myself, Ms. Cass, and Mr. McCarron, and we did a preliminary 25-26 budget analysis for our district. However, the state of New Jersey has not provided us any funding numbers, so it was just us projecting of what it could be. More to come on that as we get closer and we get some solid budget numbers from the state so we can move forward with our own budget. So we're hopeful. And then to just touch on when I moved Finance 11 to $12.5 million and what that means. So as you all know, Rosenauer was put out to bid. Even though the board unanimously voted to not sell it, it did get pushed through by the state and it had to go out to bid. We did receive one bid for Rosenauer, and it was for $9.1 million. However, we did have professionals come out and assess the property, and the indicated value for Rosenauer is $12.5 million. So with that, the board has rejected that bid. We have budget concerns in our district, and this amount, the 12.5, is going to be the minimal that we will accept for a bid. We will be putting it out to bid a second time, and I just want to be clear with this motion and movement that 12.5 will be the minimal bid that we will entertain. So that is why we approve that on our agenda. Other than that, I don't have anything additional for Budget and Finance. We will move to scholarship. Chairperson just stepped away, so let's come back to her. Advocacy Committee, Chairperson Ms. Gardella.
Good evening. The Advocacy Committee has met, we meet a lot, not necessarily just the group of us, but with legislators throughout the state. So we met on October 25th. Ms. Barokis and myself had a virtual meeting with Assemblyman Sarlis's Chief of Staff. His name was Michael Noss. I could go through this. I'll go through as quick as I can because I feel like we spent a lot of time on things tonight. We talked about the historical impacts from S2 funding as it relates to our district. Those are things that I'm sure many people are aware of, such as mandatory categorical aid, the pandemic, inflation, tax caps, advances in state aid, closing a building, our state monitor. Now we're talking about redistricting in an effort to continue to provide students with an excellent education and be financially sustainable without any state aid increases, which is what we're expecting since S2 has not been revised at this time. We highlighted that without any of these funding increases, here at Jackson, we continue to have high rates of high school graduates, which is not true for all districts throughout the state who receive above adequacy state aid funding. We reviewed the premise of local fair share, the impact of real estate price increases and housing sales on the S2 narrative. This is not only a Jackson issue because sale prices throughout the state of New Jersey are increasing. We supported and informed the Chief of Staff of Assemblyman Zwickie's idea of state funding to adequacy, which is something we reported out last month. And talking about, if the state funds a district, any district in the state to adequacy, then a local fair share will just make that district awesome. Adequate is not meaning that it's an awesome place to, be living financially. We always urge support of bipartisan bills that will address the lack of funding going to many school districts. And really, you talk to people who in the legislative area that are familiar with education, and they all know it's going to get worse come 25, 26, not just for Jackson, for many districts throughout the state. And then we also met with Senator Henry on November 13th with Ms. Permilli additionally, and we basically talked about all of those same items, along with the bill that the senator presented to us. It's, I forget the exact number, but I'm going to talk about the same exact bill coming through the assembly in my next paragraph. And, one thing we reiterated with him is it's 190 districts or something like that, that have been impacted. All of those districts are not financially mismanaging money, including ours. And then on November 15th, we had a virtual teleconference with Alex Zawicki. It was Allison, Tara, and myself, and his chief of staff. And we talked about this bill that he's putting forward in legislation. It's A5041. And it's providing funding back for students where the per pupil spending was less than $19,000 per student, which obviously Jackson's qualifying for that, and where they were functioning below fiscal adequacy by the Department of Education, and where they were allocated less money from 1 year of 2023 to 2024 to 2025, 24-25. Anyway, it actually impacts like 190 school districts, so we're not standing alone. And it may give a smaller lump sum. He actually talked to us to give Jackson like $1.8 million should we qualify, and it would not necessarily have to be designated to one particular thing. Like, I think we got money that was a facility grant that had to go to a building. Like, this is anything that the district determines would improve their school district. And I just wanted to highlight, my printer cut off, so I'm going to read from my phone, I apologize, but it's going to actually impact all areas from urban districts like East Orange, Jersey City, Passaic, to Hillsborough, Freehold Regional, Old Bridge, Jackson, Toms River, Brick, Evesham, and even districts that are more rural like Lenape and Chesterfield, along with many others. So actually, in the last sentence here, it's talking about 290 school districts. So, I say, because I'm a proponent of being noisy, that, anybody in the audience who wants to start to use that information to field letters to the Department of Education and our local legislators, you should start doing it now, because like Giuseppe said, we don't know what our school funding is going to look like, but yet we're talking about it. Any questions? That was a lot. Thank you. You're welcome.
Yes, thank you, and thank the committee for your dedication and advocacy. Enrollment Study Committee, Chairperson, Mr. McCarron.
It was reported out, but I just wanted to thank everybody who volunteers their time for this committee. It's been a great committee, seeing it work together, and obviously I'm excited to see where our district goes. Thank you.
Thank you. I need a motion for approval of the minutes, the closed session meeting, October 16, 2024, the official board meeting, October 16, 2024, business meeting.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Ms. Gardella,
Yes.
Mr. McCarron,
Yes.
Ms. Barocas,
Yes.
Dr. Osmond,
Yes.
Mrs. Rivera, Mrs. Cass,
Yes.
Mr. Palmieri.
Yes. I need a motion for approval of the bill list.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mrs. Gardella, yes. Mr. McCarron,
Yes.
Mrs. Barocas,
Yes.
Dr. Osmond,
Yes.
Mrs. Rivera, Mrs. Cass,
Yes.
Mr. Palmieri.
Yes. I need a motion for approval of the treasurer's and board secretary's reports.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mrs. Gardella,
Yes.
Mr. McCarron,
Yes.
Mrs. Barocas,
Yes.
Dr. Osmond,
Yes.
Mrs. Rivera, Mrs. Cass,
Yes.
Mr. Palmieri.
Yes. I need a motion to open the public forum on agenda items only. We will hold another public forum during this meeting for other questions. So anything in regards to the strategic planning will be on the second public forum. This public forum will be for questions on agenda items only.
Second.
Please sign in and state your name and whether or not you are a Jackson resident. Each person is allowed a maximum of 3 minutes to speak. No person may speak more than once on the topic until all others have been heard. Okay. Seeing no one come forward, I need a motion to close public forum. All in favor? Motion to move finance.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mrs. Gardella? Yes. Mr. McCarron?
Yes.
Mrs. Barocas? Dr. Osmond? Yes. Mrs. Rivera? Mrs. Cass?
Yes.
Mr. Palmieri?
Yes. I need a motion to move facilities.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mrs. Gardella? Yes. Mr. McCarron?
Yes.
Mrs. Barocas?
Yes.
Dr. Osmond?
Yes.
Mrs. Rivera? Yes. Mrs. Cass?
Yes.
Mr. Palmieri?
Yes. I need a motion to move programs.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mrs. Gardella? Yes. Mr. McCarron?
Yes.
Mrs. Barocas?
Yes.
Dr. Osmond? Yes. Mrs. Rivera? Yes. Mrs. Cass?
Yes.
Mr. Palmieri?
Yes. I need a motion to move students.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mrs. Gardella? Yes. Mr. McCarron?
Yes.
Mrs. Barocas?
Yes.
Dr. Osmond?
Yes.
Mrs. Rivera? Yes. Mrs. Cass?
Yes.
Mr. Palmieri?
Yes. I need a motion to move personnel.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mrs. Gardella?
Abstain from motion number 6E. Yes, everything else.
Mr. McCarron?
Yes.
Mrs. Barocas?
Yes.
Dr. Osmond?
Yes.
Mrs. Rivera? Yes. Mrs. Cass?
Yes.
Mr. Palmieri?
Yes. I need a motion to open public forum on any topic pertaining to the Board of Education.
Motion.
Please sign in and state your name and whether or not you are a Jackson resident. Each person is allowed a maximum of 3 minutes to speak. No person may speak more than once on the topic until all others have been heard.
Hello, thank you very much. No? Yeah, okay. For the presentation, I greatly appreciated the slides and all the information. Good? Okay, so thank you again. I just do have a few questions. The slide mentioned that we do have decreases in K through 12, but it did not mention preschool. I am curious what those numbers are because it does seem like we're still expanding the preschool. So that doesn't really jive with me, why that doesn't then flow over to K through 12. So I'd like that explained, please. Also, one of the slides said that the debt doesn't really end until 2027. Do we still then have to have the state monitor for that length of time? And if so, how does her decision-making impact anything going forward, particularly the sale of the school? Can the state step in and say, well, no, you do have to accept a lower bid? The traffic situation that was brought up, I also, and I think it tied in with your asking about the correlation with the township. Routes and everything are one thing, but I live on a particularly dangerous street because it is a straightaway and people have their heads down on their phone, whizzing to get to 195. So I would like that the transportation aspects are really considering what these streets are like, not just mileage. Also, you're referring to the committee examining different models. I would have appreciated a slide or two relaying what these models are. We all know rumors are circulating through the town, but some of the transparency, I think, would be to let us know what are these models. And then the timeline for change. So you're mentioning January being, okay, here's our decision. But I relayed to you last month, the town that I grew up in, it took 2 years to come to the formulation of, they ended up consolidating the middle schools and the high schools. So I'm wondering how this is all jiving in 3 months, and what is the time frame come January for the rollout? So maybe the decision's being made by January. Are we looking at changes come September, or are we looking at a 2-year workout to pull it off? And I think those are all my questions, and thank you all very, very much for your efforts. Thanks.
Thank you. Ms. Permilli, would you like to touch on some of those questions? Would you like Mr. Baginski to answer the debt, or?
I'll start, and then I'll ask Mr. Baginski to join in. So I just want to make sure I captured everything. The enrollment numbers, Ms. McGinley, that you asked, I don't have them in front of me, but I can say to you, we've lost about 350-something students from last year to this year, and that's mostly in the number of students graduating being higher than the number of students coming in. And so you see the decreases happening at the younger grades. We're maintaining pretty much the students that we have in district for the most part. It's the incoming students where we see those decreases. We do have some movements out as well, but yes, we are still expanding preschool. There's something in the preschool state aid requirements that's called meeting your universal preschool number. And the universal preschool number gets calculated, with different numbers by looking at your first grade population and taking a look at that first grade population and considering that like your universal number. We will continue to expand, probably by a few more classes for the next 2 years. Keep in mind those classes have about 15 students in them because that's the requirement. You can only go to 15 in each preschool classroom. And so we're going to probably meet that universal within a year or 2. So again, we see even just a little bit of a slowdown there with our preschool enrollments as well. So I hope that answers it to, in general terms. And perhaps at the next meeting, I can go a little bit more specifically in some of those enrollment numbers for everybody. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Baginski about the debt. It is different debt that we're talking about here. So do you want to explain that a little bit?
So it's a long-term debt. It's debt related to the referendum that was passed 17 years ago when we built schools in Jackson. So that debt is coming off the books in 2027, and that's what we're talking about. And that is a debt payment that is made annually. It's about close to $7 million, and that contributes to the tax rate. And it's been on the books for 17 years, and it's coming off, and that's what we're talking about.
I appreciate the question because I should have been a little bit more clearer perhaps in the presentation about the type of debt we were talking about. In regards to traffic safety and situations, absolutely. Those are things that we have to take into consideration. They're not easy to be able to figure out all the time, but we certainly do need to take those things into consideration, the traffic and the safety of those routes, not just calculating into a computer and getting a number. In regards to years to come to us to strategic planning solution, you're right. When you look at historically strategic planning in many districts who have the luxury to do it over time, absolutely. We unfortunately do not have the luxury for that. We are in a financial situation that we need to be able to sustain this district, and we also need to be able to offer our students equitable, strong, enriching programs, curriculum, and co-curriculars. So this process is expedited, and we are looking to make a decision early enough so that we have warning to everybody about the plan for September. The recommendation will be for change for September. Okay. In regards to the models, we'll absolutely take into consideration what you just asked and what people applauded, and look to present the models perhaps at the next meeting so that everybody can be clear. Okay, thank you.
Good evening. My name's Andrea Frangella. I currently have 2 children in McCullough and in Liberty. So I just had a few questions pertaining to the restructuring, redistricting. I understand no decisions have been made. I understand no models have been presented. If I may comment on what everybody is here to hear or to mention. In the model, from what we're understanding, the high schools will be combining. Not decided, but that's what we're going on. So I just have a few things to say about that. We are 2 sides. We are a Liberty side and a Memorial side. And if we want to become one school, we need to become one school. We can't be a Memorial or a Liberty. We need to just be a Jackson High School for everyone. I think it's hard for some to go one way or the other. Personally, I don't care what our name is. I don't care what my child wears, but I think there's a lot of people that do. I just want them to have the best opportunity they can in the building that they're in. And with that being said, my opinion, Liberty is an 18-year-old building. Memorial is a 60-plus-year-old building. I think the facilities and the grounds and what they have available at Liberty, for me, I'd rather have my high schooler there than my middle schooler there. And I won't go any further than... With that being said, the last thing I want to ask is, you say that you're going to present to the board in January the decision that's being made. What if the board denies that decision? What happens next? Thank you.
So to your first point, we need to unite, right? If that's the decision, we absolutely need to unite. That's what's in the best interest of our students and for this district. The second part, I'm sorry, just escaped me. What if the board, thank you. I didn't write that one down, so thank you. What if the board doesn't approve the recommendation? We would need to go back to work and come up with another recommendation, and then come back to the board. We'd ask for input from the board, obviously, on what they would prefer to see, and take that into consideration in the strategic planning committee, and see if we could come up with another recommendation. Thank you.
And also, Ms. Millie, there are 3 board members currently on that committee with you already, so it's 1 away from a majority, right? So that they would have input in this entire process. Any additional questions or comments?
Could you just explain, because people do ask me this all the time, why like certain boards were not, the whole board's not there. Like on this committee, we're not all there, which is true. Do you want to just kind of explain why we can't all be there?
Sure. So by law, we're not allowed to have a quorum of the board together for any meetings that we have. So that's 4 board members. We cannot have 4 board members because, well, I'll let you explain that a little bit, Mr. Zittimer, but by law, we're not allowed to have that because, well, they can't make decisions on behalf of a full board. And by having 4, you're making a decision on behalf of a whole board. So we can have 3 board members on any kind of committee that we have, such as strategic planning. Mr. Zittimer, would you add anything to that?
That's correct. So if we have 4 people together that are board members, that's considered a board meeting that has to be advertised. It's got to comply with the Open Public Meetings Act. It's got to have minutes, agenda, public participation. There's a lot of additional constraints that are placed on the board. That's why boards operate by committee that make recommendations back to the full board for its consideration and vote.
Good evening. My name is Monica Hittinger, and I have 3 sons that attend Liberty High School and McAuliffe Middle School. And I'm concerned about the stakeholders' ability to be heard by the committee directly, a committee we were not offered to be a part of. Can you tell us how to get our concerns for our children actually in front of the committee and not just here, so that we know that our comments and our concerns are not just sitting in someone's inbox, but actually being read at the actual meetings?
So I just want to be clear.
By the committee, basically.
So are you asking how would somebody who would send input to, perhaps myself or a board member, how is that being translated to the committee?
Correct. I'm
Yes.
asking if you can ensure that the actual concern would be presented as it's written.
Oh,
So that
yes.
we can have an active role, because at the December meeting, it's going to be too late. We can comment at the December meeting, but the process is happening now.
Yes.
So in order to be proactive and get our concerns in front of the committee that we were not offered to be a part of. And there are people who would like to have been a part of that and known the process, and instead we're finding out after the fact. So we're not able to be proactive because we're not on the committee. And that's a problem. And I'm also concerned, is it equal? Is there equal representation of every part of the community, every school, every grade level, special education, students in the special programs, students who have children in sports? We don't know that information, so we don't know that the people that are making the decisions are truly representing what we want to be said and heard and considered.
Okay.
So I'm asking you how we can go about doing that now before the decisions are made and it's too late.
Okay, thank you for clarifying. So any information that was forwarded to us, to a board member, to myself, or another administrator, we would absolutely read that information the way it's written to the committee. Okay? And perhaps, again, we can share out. We do board updates. So in our board update of this evening's meeting, when Ms. Irwin puts that out district-wide, we'll put the makeup of the committee in that as well, so that you can see that there is representation of those things that you just asked. Really not trying to do anything not transparent here, so I appreciate the questions. We certainly will answer anything and provide information that people are looking for. We have all the same goal here, to try and do what's in the best interest of our students. So thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing no one come forward, I need a motion to close public forum. All in favor? Aye. At this time, we'll go to board comments, starting with Mr. McCarron.
Thank you, everyone, for coming out to tonight's meeting, and I just wanted to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. Thank you.
Thank you for coming out. Continue to come and stay informed. It's an important time. I wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving. Thank you.
I also wanted to thank a lot of our staff members who are volunteering their time from hubs and activities for our students given our budget constraints, and also our hosting new teachers. I saw that we had multiple student teacher spots on our agenda, and obviously some of the talk about in state level there's a teacher shortage, so that's great. I think it's great to see so many faces in the audience. It makes us really excited that some of the same things that we're working towards, you guys recognize and want to be a part of. And, all comments from the public are very much appreciated, as to my ears. So thank you very much for your participation. Have a great night.
Hi, everyone. First of all, I wanted to congratulate the Jackson Memorial High School girls soccer team for basically getting to the Central Group 3 award. It was an amazing game. I've never seen anything like it. I was really moved by it. I don't know if many of you were there, but our girls really played their heart out. They came together as a team, and they didn't start that way where they were doing so well. So after 14 years, the last time they hit this was in 2010, so congratulations to you girls. I also want to congratulate all of our student athletes who signed their national letters of intent. It's a really exciting time for everyone, and I'm looking forward to seeing more student athletes, throughout the year sign their national letters of intent. So, and as Megan said, it's really nice to see some familiar faces in the audience and some new members that we haven't seen. Your thoughts and comments are taken from all of us. Valid questions, whether or not voices are being heard on the committees. I can assure you that there's people from all different aspects of the school district, so we're definitely hearing you loud and clear. We read a lot of things on Facebook, whether they're nice or not. And I would just want to, and remind people that, well, basically just, have a great Thanksgiving, everyone, and thank you for coming out.
Mine's a quick email. I just want to say, I just want to piggyback on everything that, going towards the end is tough. So we say all the same congratulations, but everything that all of my colleagues have said, I mean, all of our students, all of our staff, we do amazing things here, and I think that it's great. There is a lot happening in this district, and a lot's going to continue to happen, and we always have the students' best interest at heart. So I just want to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving and a good night, and thank you all for coming this evening.
I would just like to say I'm very grateful for all the passionate questions and concerns. They're all very valid. They're all being heard. So thank you. Keep it up. This is a process that we would like to go through as a community because we have to do this together. Other than that, I just want to wish everyone a very happy and safe Thanksgiving. So have a good evening. I need a motion to adjourn. By acclamation.
Aye. Mic problem tonight.